Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. My name is Cindy. To all of my new subscribers, thank you so much. Welcome to the Soulprint family. I hope you are enjoying these videos. I thank you very much. To my established subscribers, I adore you. Thank you for all of the comments and the likes and the views. It's fabulous. And I really, really do appreciate it. So thank you so much. Okay, so I want to take a look today. You know, things are kind of getting really, really right wing. You've got, more and more states trying to push through this really kind of crazy voting rights stuff. Apparently, I can't remember. I think it was maybe Texas, but I'm not sure. Has now sort of said that schools don't need to teach anything to anybody about systemic racism, which is like a massive, massive problem. So, again, it's just that sense that they're just trying to rewrite history and they're trying to really push their agenda. That's what happens because they're realizing that more and more they're not popular. And so that creates a problem, right? Because you're desperate to hang on to who and what you have. And in order to do that, you kind of need to play by their rules, even if their rules are really stupid. And that's my opinion about that. So I wanted to take a look today at not so much even Republican voters as much as the Magna voters. And, it's been so interesting because, like, for example, the leader of the Proud Boys recently came out with a statement basically saying that, Trump conned us and we're all now in trouble and he's not standing up. But even despite that, people will just not let go. And so I want to take a look at them because in many, many ways, it is their energy that is controlling the Republican narrative. Now, it is not their energy that is controlling the independent and left, because they're just sort of plodding along and trying to get as much done as they can. But the right is definitely in control of the Republicans. It's just as simple as that. Like the Republicans are no longer in control of themselves. Trump is in control of them, and whatever Trump wants, his Magna voters want, and that's just all there is to the way things are. So I want to take a look at that and just see if I can get some sort of a handle on what we can anticipate with these people as we move forward. It is, you're going to be seeing this. Today is May 25th, in case you care. Here we go. Magna voters trajectory, Magna voters trajectory, Magna voters trajectory. Okay, let's see what we have. Oi, oi, oi. Okay. They are going to be really, really hard to dissuade, okay? And I'll show you why. You have the Lovers, the Hermit, Four of Wands, and Two of Cups. Now, three of these cards are cards that you would typically see in a reading about a personal relationship, about a relationship. So what you have here is you have a group of people who are devoted, hopelessly devoted. He lets them know that their deepest, darkest thoughts are fine. They're acceptable. That's what everybody thinks. They just don't want to say it. Sorry, here the cats are bouncing around. So what this is telling me is this is going to be a really, really tricky thing because these people are like, I think I've used this word before, enthralled. They are just starry-eyed over this guy. It doesn't matter what he says. It doesn't matter how logical it is. It doesn't matter that it doesn't fit the reality they actually see. None of it matters. All that matters is that he is their guy. He is the sun and the moon, and he is everything in between. So why is that, one has to wonder? Well, it's because when he won the 2016 election, it validated what they thought and what they believed and what they chose to continue to believe. And even though there were so many things that just the rest of the world couldn't fathom, they just couldn't, he was telling them what they most wanted to hear. And what they most wanted to hear were the sexist, the racist, the bigoted feelings. It was fine to view other people as less than you. It was fine to treat women as, in many cases, less than human. He gave voice to them. And because of that, they will fight. And the thing is, you have to understand, a lot of these people are sort of almost being bullied by him. And I don't get any information on his fundraising efforts and stuff like that. I really try to avoid any of his, sort of propaganda. But from what I understand, I mean, even his fundraising, attempts are along the lines of, if you don't donate, we will let him know, we, the committee here, will let him know that you have abandoned him. And so they're being bullied, and they also don't want to believe that what they see is what they have. They really do want this illusionary win, 2020, right? That election. So they're not going to be easy to convince. And this is the thing. I mean, even when you get them in a conversation and you ask them blatantly, like, well, was that a lie? And they kind of go, well, so if it was, what? So you can't even get them to see sort of a logical or a rational thing, because Trump has told them, you don't need to listen to that. You only need to listen to me. I will be the one who tells you what is right and wrong. I will tell you what is black and white. I will tell you what is up and down. That's it. And they literally have completely bought into it. You know what? Honestly, the cards I'm getting, if somebody was sitting in front of me wanting to know about their relationship, their love life, they got fabulous cards for that. Honest to God, you've got the two of Pentacles. You got the Ace of Cups. You got the King of Wands, 10 of Cups. So, again, this is just reiterating this, right? They see it as a very binary choice. Either you love and adore Trump, or you are the enemy. Just as simple as that. That's how they see it. That's how they view it. And he has the ability to really, really whip up, their emotions. It still manages to boggle my brain how people who are older, they're rural, predominantly white, believe that somebody who is a construction, whatever he is, in New York, who has money and flaunts it even when it's not his money and even when he has no business flaunting it. It's really incredible that they still believe that he completely understands them. He has walked in their shoes. He wouldn't put his foot in their shoes if you held a gun to his head. But this is just what they believe. They believe whatever it is he says, his ideas, his brashness. It just resonates with them. And again, a lot of these people were the ones who watched The Apprentice and thought it was real. Go figure. Okay. So their power, their force, unfortunately, in the immediate foreseeable future really does look like it's going to hold. And Republican politicians, whether they are, state or federal, local, state, federal, whatever it is, they are going to continue really pushing the narrative that Trump wants them to push. And so those politicians, whether they think he's an idiot or not, are really in a position where, in order to keep their constituents happy, they need to do this. And of course, they're only listening to the constituents that are Republican. Right? If they are a Republican government official, the only ones they're listening to are their Republican voters, and their independent voters and their Democrat voters. Their words mean nothing. I guess because they sort of still feel like those people don't add up to them getting elected. Only these Republican voters do. And the more sort of magna they are, the more those politicians believe that they're going to vote for them because they side with that guy. So they're going to continue. We're going to continue to keep on being fed this sort of story. And the thing is, and I mean, this is just true broadly speaking, people tend to remember the impact of the first sort of statement. When that statement is pulled back, or it is proven false, or it's even corrected, people still retain the first statement. And even when they're told that one wasn't true, that was a lie, they don't tend to pull away from it. They continue to believe it. And so they figured out that it's not really about the facts. Okay, it's not. It's about that one shot, that message, that presentation. They know that that's a story that's going to stick. And that is something that his grouping of people and Republicans have sort of started to figure out, right? They don't need to follow up with the truth. They just need to make a statement. And that statement holds a great deal of water, particularly for people who are desperate to believe what they're hearing. They're going to continue in the immediate future to, it's interesting because this card is actually talking about two separate messages. One is they're going to continue doing whatever they have to do to keep those fundraising efforts up, okay? And they're also going to continue to sort of push the narrative that even if it's good for you, even if the other people get it too, well, you basically can't have it. It's not good for you. They're going to deny themselves because they don't want them to have it. And that's a narrative that they will continue to push. Now, however, somewhere down the road, you're going to see kind of cracks in that pattern. You're going to see where people are slowly going to start realizing that they've kind of been taken for a bit of a ride. And now they're really being left out in the cold. And I think that as the rioters insurrectionists. As they start going to court and they're found guilty and they're fined, and he does nothing to support them, to anything them, people may very well just start pulling back a little bit, because they're going to start to realize that these people are falling like dominoes and he doesn't care, and he's just doing nothing about it, okay? And the other thing that's going to go against him is the Biden administration continues to basically chalk up wins, right? I mean, people like what they're hearing about the infrastructure bill. Even though all the Republicans aren't supporting it, Republicans across the board, generally speaking, really like what they're hearing. Even though they are slow, Republicans are getting vaccinated because they're starting to understand that that really is important and necessary. Okay, so you have this kind of weird dynamic going on. Now, Trump is going to continue the narrative of I might vote, I might run, I'm going to be running for president, I'm not sure, but I think I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And he's going to keep playing that game as absolutely long as he can, because that is what they want to hear. That is what they're pinning their hopes on. It is things like these ridiculous recounts. They're pouring their money into it. But at some point, there's going to be sort of a bit of a regrouping almost, and they're going to start pulling back. But understand, this is not black and white. It really, really is. You have to remember those first cards. It really is that love affair with this guy. This is sort of a situation where I almost want to say, it's like a divorce when one party really, really doesn't want the divorce. They're going to hang on as hard and as long as they possibly can. And he is going to keep on sending out little bits of hope that, they're going to get every single thing they want. He will continue to relive the promise. And that's going to happen, and that's going to go on. And he's going to continue to spread this narrative, okay, until justice. When justice comes for him, that is when you're going to see people starting to pull back. Except for there's going to be a core group, and I want to see that core group is probably about 25 to 30% of the United States population who are going to become kind of the conspiracy crazies, right? They're going to be the ones who believe all the information that, there is with regards to Trump's wrongdoing is all made up. It's fake. It's they're just trying to punish the guy because he was the best thing since sliced bread. But there's trouble coming for him. And the reality is that he no longer has the power. He doesn't have the clout. And as that starts to diminish, this is the thing, right? One of the reasons he was sort of so successful, unfortunately, is because he had a really big megaphone and he kept on and kept on. This was a man who does not shut up. He was on, Twitter and Facebook and doing crazy things, so that the news people were sort of obligated to run after him like panting, trying to keep up frantically from one crazy to the other crazy. But that is being diminished for him, right? Because he doesn't have those platforms, and he has this ridiculous blog that very few people are paying attention to. So his message isn't sort of getting out there. And frankly, there's this sort of scary reliance on the Marjorie Taylor Greenes and the Matt Gaetzes of the world. and probably the Ted Cruz's and the Marco Rubios and like that, to keep his message going, okay? But what's going to happen is he's going to become more and more caged in. And you know what? This is the thing. Right now, there are so many lawsuits against him. There's so much legal activity buzzing around him. And it very much feels like the summer is going to be especially difficult. And you know, I know in the summer things are sort of supposed to slow down, but they're not going to. I don't see that happening. I think the whole legal situation is going to continue to push forward as rapidly as it can. And so the more those build up, the more he is in legal jeopardy, the more he starts to realize that, the more desperate he's going to become to keep these people hanging on. Because, you know, and there's going to be this great big huge fundraiser for Trump's legal fund. I mean, I know there has been one already, but once he starts getting charged or indictments come down, look out. But at some point, you know, people's wallets are kind of going to run empty. And so that could be a very interesting sort of situation. It's not that he's not going to, but this is the thing, right? It's like he was a big fish in a big pond, whether 3/4 of America wanted that to be or not. That was the reality of his presidency. But now what he is a big fish in a continually diminishing little pond. And so pretty soon, if you're a big fish in a really little pond, eventually you're going to eat all the little guppies, I guess. And you're not going to be able to sustain yourself in that place and situation. So he's going to take what he can take. And he's going to hope that he has some authority left, or the government doesn't have everything he needs on them, or they need on him. But, you know, this is the thing. I want you to realize this. It's going to, there he comes. There's the Fool, right? Following the Wheel of Fortune. So what's this telling us? It's telling us that he is going to keep doing everything he is doing because he is desperate for the lawsuits to not happen and to change the narrative on those. But unfortunately, the government is, and this is the thing, the government's not going after him because they didn't like him. They're investigating somebody who is accused of a lot of illegal and corrupt activities. The fact that he was president is almost beside the point. Had he not done what he did, had he not run for office, if he would have sort of probably continued to go under the radar. But his ego was such that he needed to do this. And everybody needs to remember, this started as a marketing strategy. It was never his intention to actually win the thing. And so, but now he's drawn the attention where he kind of was allowed to go under the radar before, okay? So you've got his fortunes continuing to diminish and him continuing to try to take and grab everything he needs so he can move forward. So, you know, where does that leave? Where does that leave the voters? Well, it's going to continue to create an imbalance where the rest of the country is sort of striving to get balance, okay? That core group of them are not going to let go. More mainstream, I don't even know if that's a thing anymore, mainstream Republicans, okay? They are going to continue to pull away and pull away. And it's going to be that hardcore base. And that's dangerous because in some places that hardcore base is big enough that they are going to continue to control the narrative the politicians are speaking, right? And they're only going to be listening to the Maga voters, okay? So you're going to see a little bit more of a cracking or a coming undone or apart of sort of the Republicans as a broad base. But that part of them, they're going to continue to flourish, and they're going to continue to raise money, and they're going to continue to, do what needs to be done, because they really, really believe that he is the rightful residence of the White House. So, now somewhere down the line, and I'm not sure what's going to cause it, okay? I'm not seeing that just yet. But there's going to be sort of, I almost want to say like a moment of reckoning almost. Like people are going to actually literally start questioning what they believe and what they think. In a lot of ways, these people are like members of a cult. And they're going to have to be like deprogrammed. And some of them are going to be willing to go through that process, and some of them are simply not. They're just not. They've put all their eggs in this basket, and they're going to keep on doing that. However, you're going to see a cracking. You're going to see people actually really starting to question whether they need to keep on like handing over their money like this, right? And so this is interesting. You have the Knight of Wands, the Knight of Pentacles, the Knight of Swords. And so you're going to see movement going forward where the words sort of stop having the same impact or appeal. And certainly he's not being followed, okay? I mean, like the media doesn't follow his every word. There's going to be less and less and less coverage of him. The money, there's going to be a shift in direction of the money, okay? And he's going to become so blatant that in and of itself could cause a problem if it hasn't already. And the Knight of Swords is, he's going to keep on charging ahead, but I don't think that he's going to end up kind of getting the results he is hoping or wanting to get. And the thing is his selfishness and his greed is not going to be combated by spin. At some point, the spin is going to completely stop working. And when this end comes, it's going to come quickly. But, this is the thing. Even once Trump is no longer, and is he going to end up in jail? Well, I still don't know about that. I think certainly there's going to be a lot more activity with him and his businesses going forward into the summer. But the reality is it almost doesn't, for some of these people, it just doesn't matter. And for some it will. So, final grouping of cards. You've got judgment coming. And is it possible that some of those people who have held on might actually start passing judgments that are not so flattering? It's possible. Certainly those people who were so enthralled and enamored and devoted to him, who are now facing charges, are less than enthralled and enamored and devoted to him. As the law comes for him, you've got broken hearts. You've got sadness. And the thing is like he is really not going to be able to, he's just not going to be able to shift the narrative at some point. You've got death. You've got that 10 of Pentacles card. And you've got the 7 of Wands, okay? So at some point, this is going to just turn out really badly for him. And as a result, his revenue source is going to start to dry up as he's put in a position where he just continually has to defend himself. And he faces continuing losses. At some point, he's going to have to walk away. There you have it, people. So the Magna group, that grouping of people, are going to, for the short term, continue to support him. They're going to continue to finance him, but you're going to start to see cracks. And like really, there have been, those things have been going on for a while. In fact, since January 6th, you have started to see people pulling back and pulling back. There hasn't been kind of a mass exodus, right? And so that's why he still maintains and retains so much power. But the reality is that's going to lessen and lessen as people start directing their attention to things like not getting COVID and trying to get jobs with the new infrastructure bill, you know, getting their kids back to school, getting, sorry, there's a little table over there and there's treats on them, like dog treats and cat treats. And Nova's over there doing his level best trying to break into it. So that's the noise you hear. Okay. So in some ways, you got to feel really sorry for these people, right? Because they pinned all of their hopes on this guy. They did. They believed everything he said. And slowly they're going to have to face the reality that he was conning them. And, you know, no one likes to be conned. And so the first response to that is to deny it. But that denial is going to prove to be harder and harder to face up to, right? So for the foreseeable future, yeah, they're going to stay in his corner. And as things start escalating in terms of where he's at and his legal problems, etc., you're going to see some cracking. But remember, as long as that group of people is so vocal, their politicians are going to continue to listen to what they say. And what they say is the election was stolen. You know, he deserves to be back in the White House because, in fact, he never ever should have left. And that everything that anybody else says is wrong and it turns them into the enemy. It's kind of as simple as that. So look for an interesting summer coming ahead because you're going to have these two fractions sort of becoming a little bit more prominent, right? You're going to have the Magna crazies, I'm sorry, you know, kind of trying to whip up, and you're going to have Republicans and independent leaning or Republican leaning independents really pulling away and away and away. So that's what I know about that. You know, I always knew that there was this, you know, this connection between these people and Trump. I don't think at any point did I realize that it literally boiled down to devotion. Hey, Nova. You good? My little boy's grown up. He's a big cat, and boy, he's good. Aren't you? Go on. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Until next time, take care and be well. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.